Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a new episode of Chatting with Lady C. Hello Mum, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, honey. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
And look who we have joining us.
You got her own little chair. We're not sure if it's going to do the job, but if she stays, it would be amazing.
Yes, she's
not used to it.
No, she might not know what she's supposed to do. She might think she needs to be with us. Very good idea, honey. Oh, I think she wants to come to me.
Because she's used to
Yes, okay. Come on, Mix, come. Come on, yes. Say hello to everybody. Everybody's just very happy to see our Mickey Rooney Daddy Rooney. Okay, so... So, honey, where were we? Yes, in the last video. Shall I speak about first what I was speaking about
go
last?
for it.
Go for it?
Yeah, I would go for it, and then we can go on to the questions.
Okay. I was approached before Christmas by... I don't want to say too much because I don't want to compromise anybody. They wanted me to present a TV program that, reading between the lines, I could see that they were aiming to put a banana skin or two on a certain crown prince. The timing of the program was very interesting because it needed to be done and ready to go early in the new year. And I actually have only just turned it down because I was validly able to state that I couldn't deal with it because of all that was going on before Christmas and during Christmas and after Christmas. So, and now I have just turned it down. It is, first of all, anybody who offers somebody that amount of money wants a very great pound of flesh. That's the first thing. People who offer you huge sums of money or significant sums of money aren't doing it because they love you. They're doing it because they want something out of you. That's the first thing. It involves somebody who is a member of a royal family, where there is a difficulty in the royal family. And the difficulty is between this member of the royal family and another member of the royal family, and there's a significant sum of money involved. And the spin that they were wishing to put upon it was basically that the acting head of the family is not as progressive or honourable or enlightened as he makes himself out to be, otherwise he would not be allowing this situation to continue. Well, it so happens that I happen to really rather admire a lot of the objectives and ideas that this acting head of state effectively has. And I don't want to say too much because I don't want to compromise anybody, but equally I want to say enough to prevent what I regard as mischief, because I think that there are people in the American state and in the American State Department, and in possibly the incoming American government, who would wish to recalibrate what has up to now been a pretty good relationship between the two states, and that they have opportunistically alighted upon this issue, and that they are going to try to make hay while the sun shines. And of course, if you're offered a reasonable sum of money to present a program, you're delighted. And if the program is going to be something that is acceptable and positive, so much the better. But you then have to ask yourself, what price my integrity and honor? And if you know that you are being mischievously used to undermine, for obviously political reasons, a relationship between two states, you would have to be really rather ignoble to say yes under any circumstances. What do you think?
I think that's up to the person's opinion. Many people in this world are different, so some people might think the opposite to you.
Yes, well, I'm the one that they asked, and I'm the one that has turned it
Exactly.
down. And it would be nice to have the money. But it's nicer to have one's integrity. And, I was in a very not similar situation, but there are analogies between this situation and when I was writing my first Diana book. Because I knew something that Prince Charles and the royal advisors didn't know, that Diana had decided she wanted somebody to write a book that would blast them out of the water, so that she would be able to gain her freedom and walk with her privileges intact. And looking back on it, and I actually went in and saw, just before Christmas, the ambassador of this country, and I did make the point that this slightly was redolent of, in some ways, in other ways completely different, my situation, because with hindsight, if I had got in touch with the Prince of Wales and said, your wife intends to get somebody to write a book making you out to be certain things that I know you're not, and making herself into your victim, when in fact she was the victim of a system she didn't like and wanted her liberty, all of which was fine and I agreed with. Would Charles have stolen a march on Diana? I don't think so. I think he would have thought, this woman is eccentric, and Diana would have denied it. Then she'd have done exactly what she did. So I don't think I could have stopped it. But this, I am hoping I can stop by making this broadcast and just saying enough, but not too much, because there are people's destinies at stake here. And there is a nation's, not exactly destiny, but there is a nation's interests at stake. In fact, there are two nations' interests at stake here. Plus, the victim of the injustice, if this were given too much attention, it might impact adversely upon the victim of the injustice, which I hope will be resolved in a very civil and civilized way, and then nobody needs be any the wiser. Sometimes accommodations are best made in private, but equally, sometimes you need to blow the whistle on a situation where you know that people have decided they're going to create mischief, and they don't care who they harm in the process. More than that, I don't think I should say. What do you make of it?
I really have no opinion. I mean, it's up to the person it's up to the person that wants to do it or doesn't want to do it. Mm-hmm. I know there's probably a lot of people that would like to do it, and I'm sure there's a lot of people like you that don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully it won't be done. And on that note, honey, can we have the first question of the day?
So for our first question today is from Rachel Butler. Lady C, we get it. Just spell her name right. Controversy is her game, and Meg is living her dream. What are your thoughts on Harry and the day of the child's birth? Is it total disrespect for the Queen of England and the RF? Buckhouse put out a notice at 1 p.m. to say Meghan was in labour. However, according to Harry, their child was born at 5:26 a.m. and she left the Portland hospital 4 hours later. When the first notice went out, she was home with a child. Buckhouse at 3 p.m. put out the new notice. A baby was born. A good friend who works at the Portland hospital, they said no Meghan or Harry was there this morning. It was strange that no press caught them on the way in or out. What are your thoughts?
I think that is a very well considered question. There is little doubt that Buckingham Palace received the information from the parties concerned, namely Harry and Meghan. That is Harry, the mouthpiece. Obviously, it was misinformation. Obviously, it was a deception. Obviously, it was inaccurate, and it was calculated to obfuscate and confuse. This is the sort of game that Harry plays now that he's with Meghan, and that Meghan has evidently always played. You know, throw sand in people's eyes, then grab whatever you want, and when they open their eyes and clear them out, they're none the wiser that they've been effectively played. Why the secrecy? If Harry and Meghan had nothing to hide, what were they deceiving the public and Buckingham Palace about? It begs an awful lot of questions. We come back to the whole issue of the pregnancy, the birth of the child, the extraordinary palavering that has gone on with Harry and Meghan's behaviour. This is Harry and Meghan's behaviour we are speaking about. It is not straightforward. It raises more questions than it answers. It shouldn't be raising any questions at all. It couldn't be simpler. If your wife is at the Portland hospital and is giving birth to a child, you say it. You do not say that your wife is in labour when she is not. And if you didn't do it and you got someone else to do it, you are still responsible, because this is your misinformation. And these are the disquieting questions that have arisen around the birth of that child, that lead people to doubt that everything was the way they said it was. Now, if Harry is misinforming the palace to provide misinformation for the public, it begs the question, to what extent can his word be relied upon? Because remember, Harry is the one who swore the contents of the birth certificate. Harry is the one who will have given the information to the registrar, and the registrar will have perfectly normally accepted what Harry said, namely that a baby was born to his wife at such and such a time. These are deeply disquieting rumours, and these are deeply disquieting actions on Harry and Meghan's part. And I actually think that it is very cruel that a child is brought up with all of these doubts relating to its identity, doubts which have been created entirely because of their conduct. She, during her period of when the child was being gestated, and he, while the child is ostensibly being delivered. It's deeply disquieting, deeply. And, these rumours, they come and go. And of course, there are other things for the public to think about. But this is a story that's going to run and run and run and run until there's absolute resolution one way or the other. Because, as Baz and I therapists used to say, nothing disturbs people more than something that doesn't add up. And I mean, you don't need to be a genius to figure out that if Harry was telling Buckingham Palace that his wife was in labour at a time that she, by a later account, was actually at Frogmore Cottage with the baby, excuse me, what on earth is going on? And also, I think it's a very shrewdly observed point by the questioner that Harry and Meghan were able to go from Frogmore Cottage to London and back from the Portland Hospital to Frogmore Cottage without being detected. Nobody saw them. This couple who had to leave the country because everybody watches their every movement were able to wing it in and wing it out without anybody knowing. Yet, according to them, they are watched 24/7 by the paparazzi. Where were the paparazzi? I think that's a very good question to ask, because, the press in a situation like this will step stake out a property. And yes, occasionally somebody's clever enough to give them the slip. But Diana tried to give them the slip, having told them where she was going to be, and they were able to catch up with her. It's the whole thing is deeply, deeply disturbing. Next question, honey.
No worries. So for our next question today is from Effie Klinker. I'm playing devil's advocate. I am not a fan of Meghan at all, but like I said, trying to think of another theory. Could she actually be trying to protect the identity of her child? Does she think she is trying to be? Say, for example, George and Amal Clooney were you never see their twins.
Well, I mean, you're obviously too young to remember it, but I took a deliberate decision when you were children that you would not be trotted out and about for public consumption, and you were not. And yes, I get that George and Amal Clooney don't want their children to be a part of their public life. Well, if Meghan and Harry don't want that child to be a part of their public life, why do they occasionally drip feed? You see? You need to be consistent in life. I do not think that any of this is about the child. I think had it been about the child, they would have taken the trouble to not bring the child into a world where their actions created a whole load of questions about the identity and the existence and the creation and the gestation of the child. I mean, their behavior is entirely responsible for all the speculation around the child's identity. And I'm really surprised that somebody whose identity has been questioned the way Harry's has been can be so completely uncaring about the effect that such questions will have upon his son as the child gets older. I do not think that Meghan is protecting that child. I think that she is using that child as and when it suits her. I agree with the theory, which is propounded very often, that Meghan intends to merchandise that child to the maximum, so she's holding back photographs of him in the knowledge that when she delivers him up, the goods will be worth more than they are if they're overexposed. If they have a secret, it's too late to keep the secret because too many people are asking questions about the identity of that child. And they are the ones, and I will repeat it again, whose conduct is entirely responsible for creating A, the mystery, and B, the questions about the child. Don't you think it's really rather cruel of a parent to put a child in a situation like that?
Like you say, she keeps on swapping over. So one day she's putting out stuff of him, and then the next day she's not doing anything. You would, like any mother that's just had a born baby, especially nowadays with phones and cameras all over the place, they put up hundreds of pictures of their children on social media. Like you said, she only uses it when she needs it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason why I made sure that you children were not in the public arena was because I was suing the newspapers for defamation, and I knew that they intended to use your existence against me if they could, which meant that they would have been using your existence to your detriment as well. And because the Press Complaints Commission, or whatever it was called in those days, assured parents privacy if they required it, I made absolutely sure that I made them respect my right to privacy. And it was only after all my problems with the newspapers were resolved that you children then featured in things with me. But that was for your protection. That was because the press would have used your existence against me and to your detriment. Nobody's using Archie to Meghan and Harry's detriment. And you know, Meghan's nonsensical comment that they're too famous for Harry to have friends and playdates, etc., is just beyond ludicrous. I mean, nobody's that famous that their child can't have playdates, etc. Harry and Meghan aren't any more famous than Princess Margaret and the Queen were, or Elizabeth Taylor and her children were. You know, it's just ludicrous. I mean, spare me, it's a study in pretentiousness. Next question, honey.
No worries. So for our next question today is from Mia Amazing. My question to Lazy C is 2 parts. Although this is speculative, do you think Meghan is pregnant? And the second part, did the Queen's press secretary ever confirm, deny the surrogacy rumours?
Do I think Meghan is pregnant?
Again? Is this for again?
Well,
if she's pregnant again? Or...
I think that's most likely what it means. Is she pregnant again?
Because, yeah, she was
because
pregnant.
She said that she was pregnant in July and lost the baby, and that she was broken-hearted, but seemed to be managing perfectly well to be out and about, including exposing herself to the threat of COVID while she was ostensibly pregnant. The self-sacrifices to which she condemns herself to keep in the public domain and keep herself in the forefront of everybody's attention is really quite stupendous. I prefer not to even consider answering the question, in all honesty. What I will say is, let's see how it pans out, because is she going to announce that she going to announce that she was pregnant and lost the baby again? Or, as people have said, will this be a golden opportunity for her to say, well, she is getting older, she's, because of the stress and the pressure of the lawsuits and her father being so beastly to her that he actually defends himself when she attacks him, that you know, she can't retain a baby because it's just too much stress and it's just too terrible. Maybe this will be a golden opportunity for them to go down the surrogate route. Let me answer it like that. I've actually lost patience with all of these silly games, if the truth be known. And the short answer is no. Donald McCabe has neither confirmed nor denied. I did not expect him to confirm or deny. I asked the question knowing only too well that there are certain things the palace will not do. They will not confirm or deny certain things. And there is a sound reason for doing it. And the sound reason is that if they start to deny or confirm speculation about, for instance, the way Archie came into this world, they will have to be confirming and denying other things. If you have blanket refusal to acknowledge or deny, nobody knows where the truth lies. There is a level of opacity which is created by your policy of never confirming or denying, which is actually very sound policy. So I did ask the question. I did not expect to get the answer. I expected to get an answer to the other question, which was, and this was a perfectly valid question, and he was obliged to answer it, which was the Kensington Palace announcement that the baby had been born by a surrogate, was it a genuine announcement or was it a falsity? And he had to look into it, and he was obliged to, and he did have the good grace to confirm that it was a fabrication. But that's not the same thing as actually addressing the rumors about the baby's existence and his creation. I think Harry and Meghan should come clean and say that the baby was not born of a surrogate if it was not. I think they should come clean. I think they should clear up the speculation. But I can see room for the postulation that Meghan created all these doubts deliberately so that she would make herself more famous, whether she was pregnant or not. That she used this as an opportunity, knowing mischievously that by doing certain things she would be creating a controversy that would actually ultimately keep her level of keep the level of attention which she demands higher than it ought to be. Because being pregnant and having a baby and doing the occasional public appearance when you're pregnant is not a big deal. Women have been doing it for hundreds of years, if not thousands, you know, and they've done it without the benefit of their belly wobbling or their belly being 6 inches bigger one day than it appears to be the next, or without the stupendous accomplishment at 8 months pregnant of, with legs tightly shut in 4-inch heels, getting down on your haunches. These are all deeply disturbing acts that, if she had no awareness of what she was doing, actually calls into question all sorts of aspects as to her character and personality. And if she knew what she was doing, I would submit that she shouldn't have been doing them. So I think they should be clearing up the mystery that they have created. They're the ones who created it. It's up to them to clear it up. And if they don't, and I don't think they're going to, this is one that's going to rumble and rumble and rumble and rumble and rumble on into the future. it's going nowhere. It's not going away because there is too much evidence of disquieting conduct for people to just say, well, sorry, we just believe that she's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's just wonderful. And everybody's mean and racist because they don't accept the fact that, at 4 months pregnant, she looked 8 months pregnant, and then at 6 months pregnant, she looked 3 months pregnant, and then at 5 months pregnant, she looked 9 months pregnant, and then at 8 months pregnant, she just bounced up and down like a rubber ball. It's just, really, it's deeply disturbing, deeply disturbing. And I get why people are so disturbed. And I recommended to Donald McCabe that they clear it up because I think this calls into question the integrity of the royal family and is going to do damage to them. I also get the fact that, of course, they are not in a position to do anything because Harry and Meghan are members of the family and they can't be going around calling time on tunes. That's not the function of the royal family. And if Harry and Meghan, especially Meghan, if she keeps on, creating mysteries where there should be no mysteries. I mean, she's, it's a type of personality that loves to create havoc. It's a type of personality. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've suffered from it. And it is deeply disturbing, and people pick it up. And there's a reason why people do not like behavior like this. And it's a very good reason because it's unhealthy. And on that note, I will say, is that enough? Is that for today?
I think, yeah, that is for it for today. I was just gonna say, for somebody, I'm not a very medical person, but for somebody like me that's heard stories, like when you have an abortion, you don't really want to have an abortion because like maybe the next time it could be more trickier to have a baby. So if you've lost a baby, wouldn't that be 10,000 times worse? So wouldn't that like make you want to not lie about having a pregnant baby, just actually get probably a second one before bad stuff go on in there? That would be a bit sad. So wouldn't you try with all your power, knowing that you've lost one, try and get a second one as fast as possible? I don't know.
Well, it all depends how it plays out because we're dealing with a player and she is a player. And it all depends how it plays out.
Also, we don't know if it's true or false.
Well,
that's the problem.
The point I'm making is that I don't like being a violin. And I'm a member of the public and she's playing me. She's playing everybody and I don't like it. I think she should take her bow and put it onto another string, like maybe her own. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for your questions. Do keep them coming in. And I hope this has been of interest to you.
Well, thank you everybody, and we hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, hit the like button, subscribe and share with your friends. Thank you very much and goodbye.